Well, there's already a handful of potential quarterback targets for Auburn to add via the portal.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Happy Charlie Tuesday to all who celebrate. We're joined by Auburn message board legend, the Charlie 5. Early signing day is tomorrow. We'll talk about that, as well as other portal chatter. Sounds like some other Auburn guys are planning to enter the portal once it opens on Monday. But we saw reports about Kaiden Salter entering the portal, Miller Moss entering the portal, of course, the USC quarterback, and then John Mateer. All signs are pointing that the Washington State quarterback will enter the portal. And obviously, Auburn is one of the big schools that reportedly are going to be in the hunt for a quarterback this portal window. Which of these three is most likely in your mind, Charlie 5?
Most likely to come to Auburn. This is, if I have to pick from these three, I'd probably say Miller Moss.
Okay.
John Mateer would be, in my opinion, the best. If you could get John Mateer, to me, I think the best in the portal. I think the best option in the portal.
Is he the Cam Ward this year? I mean, they both came from Washington State, but I mean, he was kind of the quarterback in last year's portal class. Can we call it that? Portal class. Is Mateer going to be the headliner this year, you think? I
think so. I think he's probably the best. To me, he's like a Baker Mayfield clone. And funny enough, that may be where he ends up is at Oklahoma. His offensive coordinator seemingly is about to be hired by Oklahoma. I think we talked about that was probably going to be something to watch. It doesn't mean that he couldn't end up at Auburn too. If Auburn pursues him, I do think I think to me, he just sort of fits that perfect RPO style quarterback. He's got a little bit of the it factor that you can't really put a metric on. You can just kind of see it when you see it type thing. But I think if I had to pick from these three, it feels like Miller Moss, who's I think would be a solid addition, would have the biggest chance out of these three. Kaiden Salter, I think if it comes to Kaiden Salter, I think it means they missed.
Wasn't plan A.
I think they plan on shooting a little bit higher than Kaiden Salter. This go around.
The Mateer situation is interesting, and that's a name that we've heard all season. It's like, okay, if Mateer enters the portal, will Auburn have a shot with him? But then if he goes to Oklahoma, like what happens to Jackson Arnold? Is that a potential name that Auburn would be interested in? We'll see. But Miller Moss, on 3 reported that Miller Moss is going to talk to Auburn, going to talk to Louisville, and going to talk to Michigan, which that's an interesting group of 3 schools there for sure. But, Miller Moss he's got a talented arm. I don't think USC had the season they expected to have, but, is Miller Moss an upgrade? I guess maybe. I mean, I don't know if that's the kind of addition that makes you like, okay, Auburn's a 9-3 football team if you add them, but I get the argument for the upside for Miller Moss.
I mean, he lit up LSU. He played really good against LSU. He put up good numbers. USC just is kind of a mess. Honestly, they have some resemblances to this Auburn season this past year. It seems like they just had some talent in areas, and then for whatever reason, as a team, they couldn't get it done. And I think he got benched towards the end of the year, and basically signified he was gonna get out of there. So again, he does some good things. He's got a good arm. I don't know. I don't think they really run I don't think they run a really true, maybe like RPO. It's more a pro style system.
Yeah.
So again, it's all about fit to me. I would sacrifice statistics over fit.
100%.
Mateer had both. He has both. So that's why I'm holding out a hope that he could be the guy, because I really do. I think he's a Baker Mayfield clone. I think he could be very special.
To me, that's a little bit of an argument for Kaiden Salter. I mean, they showed interest in him last cycle. He entered the portal, just to refresh everybody's memory. Kaiden Salter, the Liberty quarterback, entered the portal, visited Auburn, went back to Liberty.
Yep.
And so, like, there's got to be some level of mutual interest. Is Salter the guy? I agree with you. If it is Salter, when it's all said and done, you got to think that they miss somewhere else.
Look, Liberty was gutted too. I mean, they were gutted last season. So when you look at his production and it's a step down from the season prior, their team was gutted. They didn't play nearly as well as they did last year. You lost C.J. Daniels to LSU. You lost several other guys to graduation. I think you lost a wide receiver that got drafted, or I think they had another wide receiver that got drafted, right? That was really good. Regardless,
I mean, Demario Douglas was there 2 years ago.
Okay. Regardless, the team was not the same. So lost a lot. Liberty seems to be a pretty common team to pick players from in the portal. So again, I'm not saying that the story is written on him and what he could be at Auburn, and he does fit obviously the system, but I just think they're going to shoot a little bit higher.
Yeah, I haven't heard Kaiden Salter's name from anybody specifically, so we'll see. It's just an obvious tie because he played for Freeze, the Liberty connection, and he visited. Yeah, I mean,
he did.
So that's got to mean something.
I think he would have been Auburn's quarterback this year had the whole transfer graduation thing worked out. I think that would have been.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been eligible for whatever reason, and he needed a grad transfer. So I guess that's what he's doing now.
I mean, he came here, he entered the portal, came on a visit, and immediately went back and took himself out of the portal. So clearly he was coming here if everything worked out. So I can understand the tie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll see. Those are 3 names. There's going to be more names to enter. This is going to be, and of course, just for the semantics, none of these guys have officially entered. They can't enter until Monday. They're all announcing that they intend to enter the portal. And the Mateer stuff, everybody's just kind of assuming it. I guess nobody's actually reported it yet. So
there's a couple of accounts that claim.
Yeah, it's like, are they legit? Like CFB transfer portal. And sometimes it seems like it's legit and sometimes it does. I have no clue. But everybody
could be a really good guess, though. Could be a really good guess.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to guess, is Mateer under the portal or not? I think we're all saying yes to that. So we'll see. But to me, it's Auburn's just got to be. They got to be in these conversations, and the fact that On3 is reporting that Miller Moss, the former USC quarterback, is going to be talking to Michigan, Louisville, and Auburn. I mean, I think that does signify that Auburn's on top of it at the very worst, right? I mean, they're being aggressive and getting a spot in these conversations and a seat at the table with these guys, which at this point of the process is all you can ask for.
Yeah, I mean, I go back and think about our spring portal haul and think about those guys and how after Will Redmond was here and sort of cemented himself, all of those guys that came in the spring portal and contributed and were pretty good players. And you can't do that unless there's preparation. You can't do that and act that fast unless there's a level of organization. And I just feel like the way this whole thing's set up now, you're going to see Auburn in a lot of these. You can't just have one guy. You know what I mean? You can't just have one guy because things go awry. Like Riley Leonard is a perfect example. So I think you're going to see Auburn's name probably in the mix with several quarterbacks. And that's kind of what you have to do to be able to be ahead of the game, be able to adjust on the fly and be able to shift the board around. If something happens and what you think happens doesn't pan out, then boom, you have an alternate plan. Then this quarterback gets paired with this tackle and wide receiver and so on and so forth. So
yeah,
it is good to see Auburn's name in these races because it just shows you that there's a level of organization that maybe we haven't had yet.
Yeah, which is the whole point of Will Redmond. That's why he was brought in. That's why
he
was
check,
successful.
Baby. Earn that check, Will.
Yeah, he deserves it. He deserves it for sure. Small
what a
sample
fun
size,
job that would be.
Oh, it'd be so fun. Also be very stressful. It's probably fun until the portal opens and it's like, oh, okay, here we go. We got to do this.
Game day.
Yeah. But for like a month and a half, goodness gracious. Okay. So Auburn is already having some depth guys enter the portal. How much does that matter? That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Kyle, can you imagine? Can you imagine buying tickets anywhere other than Game Time?
I won't do it. I shan't do it.
List all the places you would buy tickets other than Game Time.
0 places.
Yep, you did it. You're done. The list. That's the list.
That's the list.
That's the list. Look, they've got Game Time picks. The curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, the theater, and more. They show you here's the value. Don't waste your time. We got you. They also have all-in pricing. You can toggle this feature on where you see the total up front. You're not blindsided by fees, which you absolutely love. And they have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. That's a lot. That's more than the total difference.
Holy
10%. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Kyle, what time is it?
Game Time.
Yes. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. The everydayers know that we are going to be talking portal every single day. We will touch on signing day, of course, later in today's show, and then obviously tomorrow. But we saw EJ Harris, the backup interior offensive lineman, announce that he was going to enter the portal, which not a huge shock. Micah Riley was another one. That one, it's you got to think his path to playing time would have been a little bit more clear, but it's okay. If he's unhappy with the situation, he's unhappy with the situation. We assume that's why he entered the portal. I don't know. Maybe we'll learn more. Who knows? A lot of these guys that are depth pieces, Micah Riley's different because I think he would have played a lot next year. But EJ Harris, I didn't really see a clear path to playing time for him. And it's go get yours, dude. Go get yours. Go get reps. Go get money. Whatever it is you're looking for, go get it. I have no hard feelings about that. I mean, how do you feel Auburn's going to do holding on to depth over the next few weeks?
I think it just depends on what depth. It's not just depth in general.
Not all depth is the same.
Yeah, not all depth is the same. And I believe that the vast majority of those that will leave are going to be similar to EJ Harris, which they're guys that are probably still a couple of years away, but not next in line type guys, if that makes sense. Or there's a younger player behind them that's probably got a little bit more promise. When I think about EJ Harris, I think about DeAndre Carter.
Yep.
Yeah. And how highly thought of he was. He actually, did EJ play in the game that DeAndre Carter played in? I'm not 100% sure. DeAndre Carter got some playing time in Louisiana against Louisiana Monroe.
And wasn't he great? Wasn't he just fantastic?
I'm sure he was.
He looked great out there.
Totally. So I think it's going to be more so of that than your guys that you're next in line type guys that go. You may lose some of those, or maybe some that you feel could have been really good players in 2 seasons. I think those will be few and far between. I think the guys.
EJ Harris played in 3 games. He played 35 snaps.
How about that? I wonder if they were on offense or special teams.
Offense.
Okay, good for him.
Yeah,
good for him. He'll probably be. He's got a really good size. Good kid.
Played against Alabama A&M, New Mexico, and La Monroe. So,
there you go.
There you go. Yeah, best of luck to EJ Harris. Seriously, I've heard nothing but good things about the guy.
What do you think?
I think there's a few positions I'm concerned with.
Mm-hmm.
Offensive line is not one of them.
Okay.
Defensive line is not one of them, just because I think the guys you are going to leave, you're going to be able to replace easily and probably cheaper.
Yeah.
Linebacker, I'm not worried about because you're going to have to get some of those guys anyway, and you've got some young guys that you believe in. Defensive back, I'm not worried about. Wide receiver and running back, I am. And I caught some flack on this on social media yesterday because I used the word rebuild when talking about the receivers. The assumption to me is without Robert Lewis and KLS, they're out of eligibility. I think Camden Brown is likely to leave. I don't know about Sam Jackson. I think Caleb Burton leaves. And if that happens...
Yeah, 5. I think it's 5 receivers. I think
if you count
if you
Sam
Jackson,
everybody. If you count Sam Jackson staying and the freeze 4 stay, you have 5 guys.
5 scholarship guys. Yeah, I've talked about this. I think you're going to have to get you're bringing in 3 freshmen. I think you're going to have to get 2 more portal guys. So and maybe rebuild is a strong word, because that, to me, that seems like you're starting back at ground zero.
That's
and people
fine.
are going to be like, how many years do you have to rebuild, kind of thing. But in reality, you are going to have a little bit of a retooling. Let's call it retooling, where you're not necessarily
reloading, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, I don't really care to argue about the semantics, but like, there is going to be some construction that has to happen in that position group.
Totally agree. That's one of the position groups that I think most of the position groups, maybe you only add 1 guy. You only need like 1 piece to help kind of fill things out. Wide receiver, it could be you need more than 1. And then
It
what
depends.
happens
Like, if you keep Camden Brown and you just lose Caleb Burton,
yeah,
and you hold on to the freshman, okay, yeah, you may just need 1 outside guy.
Yeah, but I mean, and then
I don't know if that happens though.
Yeah, and I mean, and what happens if one of the freshmen leave? I mean, that would be a disaster. You'd hate that to happen, but I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't think you have anything to worry about, because I think they're going to get him a good quarterback. But I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think that's definitely something that that's definitely a position group. I'm with you.
Running back is the other for me.
Running back is just out of sheer numbers. It's kind of scary to think about. Damari and Jeremiah, and I don't blame them whatsoever. One of them is going to be they've gone for multiple years now, and neither one of them, I think, even going into next year, are going to be the feature back. I think they're going to have to share. They're going to share carries, and you've seen that if this offense can't get going, the carries go down in and of themselves. So how much actual carries, how much actual opportunities am I going to get when I got to split it with this guy? And then if one guy gets hot, what happens? You know what I mean? So I can totally see one of them being like, no, you go, no, I'll go, no, you go, no, you go, no, you go type thing.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to guess who stays, it would be Damari. I can't imagine Jeremiah Cobb is happy with his usage. There's no way. There's just no way. And Damari's probably not either. I mean, as a fan base, we're all like, give it to Jarquez Hunter more. And it's like, they didn't even really fulfill that over the course of the whole season. And like, if you're looking at this, like, you want me to be a backup again? Like, yeah, I don't know if you use your starter.
Or share time again. If you share time at best, be a backup at worst. I mean, it's a big gamble. So I can totally see one of those guys go. And then you have whichever one of those stay, and then Alvin, and that's it. That's your only scholarship running back. So like,
Auburn's pushing really hard for Chroma tomorrow on early signing day.
Exactly.
And then I'd love for them to go after just a smaller school guy that may not cost as much. That Hardy dude that played for ULM.
I knew you were going to go there.
I love that guy. That guy can play, man.
If you can find an older guy and then pair him with, because like if you were to get somebody like that fills the role of not taking a running back last year. He fills that role because he'd be a sophomore, and you didn't take a running back last year. So if you could find somebody like that, that's got talent that would love a chance to step up and could be a good role player, and then eventually be the guy, I think that would be great. But that dude, I mean, he rushed for over 1,000 yards as a freshman. I mean,
he's a good player.
I think he intends. I think there was a tweet that said he intends to go in the portal. Am I correct?
Maybe.
I think there was.
Maybe.
I think I saw it. I'm pretty sure I saw it from college football transfer portal.
Oh, well, in that case, they're super credible. It's super credible.
He had a blue check. I mean, you don't get they don't just hand those out. Like you don't.
Yeah, you got to pay like $10 a month for that.
Yes, you got to pay $10 a month for that check.
I also think he's a different type back than Alvin, which is good. I'm all for get as many different style backs as you possibly can. So we'll see. We'll see.
I'm with you on that. Those are the 2 positions that I'm looking at that I'm the most concerned about as far as like how you get those ready to play next year. Last year, to me, it was like the defensive line, and they ended up hitting on some and ended up being pretty good. offensive.
Now I do think running back, and like you're going to need tight ends just from a number standpoint, but like I don't think that's as important. And I also think you can go young there if you need to. I like Rico Walker a lot, but to me, the running back pitch should be super easy. If there's an experienced back that you think can either take that step up or he's done it somewhere else and just wants more touches or whatever, if Damari or Jeremiah leaves, you can just play, here you go.
There you go.
Got a great receiver's a little different for me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, you're like, we think you're great, but you're not going to be above Cam Coleman. We're probably going to give it to Malcolm Simmons more, and Perry's ready.
And don't forget about Bryce.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we assume
he's going to get more reps at slot next year.
At slot.
Yeah. So it's like, that's a tougher pitch.
Tougher sale for sure.
And I don't know what that looks like. Do you have to spend more because of that? Do you have to be careful because you don't want to like upset the freshman? Like that's the receiver situation is very tricky to me.
It's very you're walking a tightrope for sure. With maybe not with all of them, but a few you probably walking a tightrope with that. It could go. You make the wrong decision and then you could really rock the boat with that whole room. So it's tricky. It's tricky for sure. And then,
but on the other side of it, those freshmen have to know like if what we're saying happens, like, and if you do lose 2 of the 3 of Camden, Sam Jackson, and Caleb Burton,
you have to know you can't roll.
You can't have 5 receivers that with experience coming back.
Yeah, and then just completely lean on true freshmen if there's injuries or something like that. That would be. I think you got
Derek Smith may be good enough to play as a freshman, but I don't know if the rest of the freshmen will be. I don't know.
Yeah,
I was wrong about Malcolm, so who knows? Who knows?
I'm with you.
Yeah, Malcolm was great. All right. Early signing day is tomorrow. Can Auburn pull off a flip? We think so. Maybe
that's
2. Next. Oh, that's next. Right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's America's #1 sportsbook. Kyle, can you imagine wagering anywhere other than with our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook?
I would never.
As we record this Monday night, there's still no line for Auburn Duke. That's fine.
Those don't typically come out until like the day of. If sometimes,
yeah, they came out super early for the Maui Invitational, but yeah, I was hoping since I don't know why would that line change. It's a big game, like it's already being publicized everywhere, but whatever. FanDuel still the #1 place to bet, no question about it. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and win $150 in bonus bets. Come on.
No brainer.
Come on. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. All that is at FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. The everydayers know that tomorrow is early signing day. Very exciting stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Very exciting stuff. Losing Tavares Dice over the weekend, not exciting. Unfortunately, it kind of felt it coming.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Florida is just on a heater right now.
It's amazing. It's amazing what happens when you stop trying to fire your coach for the whole season and you decide, you know what, we're going to stop trying to fire this guy and we're just going to give him more money and let's see what happens. And they're flipping everybody from Miami. They flipped Tavares Dice. They're on a heater. You're right.
Good for them. Apparently they had all that money ready for the buyout. Like, well, let's use it for other stuff, and it's working.
I swear I had a show with Tyler Siskey and we said the same thing. We're like, they said they got $26 million raised for a buy. I was like, why not just give half of that to NIL? Like over the next 2 years, like go
buy the roster. Like what else do you want?
13 million 1 year, 13 million the next for the roster and then roll and see what happens. And then let his contract play out. And if he sucks, he sucks, but your roster is, jacked. So it's funny. It's funny how that works.
Yeah. Clearly whatever they've done in the last few weeks has been great. And let's not take anything away from the staff. I mean, I think they've put themselves in a good situation. I mean, the 3 guys, Naeem offered, Usman Chroma, Justice Terry. I mean, to me, if you can flip one of those 3, early signing day is a win, but there's buzz that they could get 2 of them.
Yeah, and then there's also, don't forget about Darrian Smith from who's a Tennessee commit, who I almost count him as an Auburn commit. right now. Look, there is a pathway. It's a long shot that Auburn could land all these guys. And I think there's been times where Auburn has either led or been close to getting in the lead for every single one of them. So it's not too far-fetched to see that there could be some big-time fireworks on signing day. What's the most likely scenario? Of those 4 guys, I think you're probably Offord and Smith, or probably Darrian Smith, are probably the most likely.
You think Offord is more likely than Chroma?
Yes, I do. I think Offord's more likely than Chroma. I think Chroma is a scenario where a kid wants a school that didn't want him that bad until they wanted him, if that makes sense. And Auburn has always wanted Chroma, has always put him a top priority, and Georgia sort of took him for granted. And I think that's why you had all of the hype last week that he's finally like, you know what, fine, screw it. I'm going to Auburn. They've always been good to me. They've always shown me the love, and I'm going to Auburn. And then, what happens? Georgia gets another week to kind of, build back and say, oh, no, we really do want you. And it's a kid from Georgia, a running back from Georgia. They should have Herschel Walker on the phone with him every single day. You should never not have a Georgia kid running back not feel like he's the number one guy for you. And he's going to be a really good running back. And I hope somehow we can pull off the miracle, but it does seem like Mama's going to win. And he's going to end up being a Bulldog.
When you look at the Naeem Offord thing, I mean, obviously he's still committed to Ohio State, but Oregon is in this as well. If you had to rank the schools, it sounds like you think Auburn's 1, but would you say Oregon is 2, then Ohio State 3?
Yeah, I think that I would. I'm not even sure that I'd put Ohio State at 3. I think Ohio State's
weird, man.
It is really weird.
It's bizarre.
They've sort of given up on him months ago or weeks ago. Yeah. I do. I think it's Auburn and Oregon, and then maybe even Florida's hanging around there if they wanted to. That they could maybe make a play, since they seem to have endless monies right now. They got at least $26 million. They know they got saved up they can use.
Good for them.
But it's going to come down to comfortability with Auburn. If that's I don't even know if that's a word. The comfort that he has with Auburn, the proximity to home versus Oregon and all the things that come with being out there with Nike and possible shoe deals and things like that. It's just so far away. It's just really hard for me to see a kid going that far. Ohio State, it's not that bad. It's a decent distance. It's not that bad, but man, that's literally almost as far away from home as you possibly can be and still be in the continental U.S. Yeah. I mean, it's a really long way. So at the end of the day, I think Auburn's in the better position. I do think they're going to have to compete all the way to the end. And I don't think it's just completely impossible that Oregon could pull this off, but I think Auburn ends up winning in the end.
Yeah, that'd be huge.
And it'd be huge. If you get Offord and you get Darrian Smith, you'll still be the highest rated class in the history of Auburn. As far as scoring point totals go. You'd be the highest rated class ever. And I think that would be, with all things considered, that'd be something that would be pretty freaking remarkable based off of how this season's played out.
Yeah. Yeah. Gives you a chance for next year too. So we'll see. Sure. We'll see. We'll have you covered here throughout signing day for sure. Kyle, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter, _Charlie_5. Subscribe to the barn, auburn.com. Still for $1. Get you through signing day and almost all the way through the portal. It's the greatest $1 you could ever spend. Lock it in, get in there, and get some of the sweet, juicy nuggets that we're dropping seemingly every 5-10 minutes now. They're coming in like crazy. So jump in and have some fun.
Yep. thebarnauburn.com. That's where I put a lot of stuff as well. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.